Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Saray Bailey and I am the content creator behind all things I am Saray Bailey on Instagram, and I'm really excited that you've joined me today. I'm really passionate about sharing planning and budgeting tips and tricks, as well as inspiration on simple seasonal living lifestyle. In this video, we're going to continue our discussion around goal setting, and this is the video where I'm going to do a little bit more of a deep dive on my actual goal setting system and the process that I've taken to set up my goals for the new year. I'm currently using a ring-bound agenda, and I'm using the MakseLife goal setting inserts as well as the daily inserts. I'm not going to be using the daily inserts for this portion of my agenda because I am using a different planner. I am using the Erin Condren daily pages for my daily planning, but I really wanted to capitalize on the goal setting component of MakseLife, for which they are known for and they're experts in. So that's the section that I'm going to be walking you through in my planner. For this first section right here, these are all of the instructions and all the kinds of information on getting started. As you can see, I have highlighted certain things that have stood out to me, just different phrases that I want to, when I flip back to these pages, I want to remind myself. So for example, like consistent habit of deciding how you spend your time, that's something that stood out to me, and things that matter most to me. Another thing that I thought was a great reminder in this page was it's okay to make mistakes or even fall behind in your planning. Just pick up where you left off. Learn to rest, not quit. That's definitely one of my favorite quotes, and it's something that really resonated with me. The other thing here is like not doing more or doing it perfectly. As someone who suffers from really making sure that everything is perfect, I am definitely a perfectionist. I honestly feel that gets in the way of me accomplishing more. So I thought that was a great reminder. So that's what I've done with these pages. Of course, you can do whatever you want with your system. It is yours to use. But this is something that I like. The other thing that you can do is you can obviously add notes or additional thoughts as you're putting the work into these pages. You can do that as well. And I did not add a ton of notes because honestly, I feel like this was really comprehensive. Perhaps as I move into my actual goals and moving into progress, I can come back and obviously update these. And that's the beauty of the system, is that they are, it's a living, breathing document. So you want to make sure that you really go back to it and use it up. I did write myself a note on this one, which is goals must be measurable and specific. They need to answer what, how much, by when. And I also added here is where. I think setting is very important sometimes when it comes to goals, because I think that gets you in the mind frame of setting up that habit, and the specific location might be the trigger, that gateway to get that habit going. So I wanted to add that there. But like I said, it's very comprehensive. So highlight these pages, use it up as you need to. And in this section over here, these are some of the things that you want to consider when writing your goals. I know I can't remember because I took all of these out, so I'm not 100% sure if this page goes right before the life compass, but if it does, I actually did this out of order. So what I did was I completed my assessment scoring first, then I completed my life compass, and the lines that you see here are where I landed currently, and then the circles is where I want to end up, or what I want to work towards for this year, towards the goals. And a couple of questions I highlighted here were, what needs to happen to arrive at that score that I set for myself, and what does it look like and feel like to you? So I want to come back to these questions and refine them a little bit. Once I have identified where my gaps are, so I feel, for example, my personal was actually one of the highest scoring ones, which was a little surprising to me. So I might have to go back and rethink some of these things. I want to make sure that I answer them honestly. But that one was a little bit higher. And then spiritual and personal growth was actually one of the lower. Physical environment, this one was not surprising to me at all, which was a 3. I consider that a 3, maybe even lower. So that one was definitely it's a challenge for me. So those are some of the things that came up as a result of the completion of the life compass. But once I had identified what those areas that I was doing well in, or some of the areas of opportunity, I came back to this page and I highlighted some of the things that I felt I wanted to work on. Now, this is not an all-inclusive list. Of course, there are going to be things here that perhaps you want to work on yourself that are not listed here. But I think these prompts, I guess, are really good to get you started and get you comfortable in the goal setting process. So that's why I chose these. So for example, for personal, a big thing for me is going to be routines, and we'll talk about that word in a little bit. So routines are going to be huge for me. Another area, for example, like a big one that's going to be huge for me this year is going to be that physical environment. I am a homebody. Fun fact, I'm a homebody. I love my home, but I don't feel like I have a comfortable, cozy enough space, and that's something that I definitely want to work on, especially since I spend so much time at home. That's where I enjoy life most, I guess. I mean, I like to travel. I like to go out and get out there, but I think my preference is really home. So I want to make that environment the most welcoming, the most coziest, just overall really nice to be in. So that is something that I think I've worked towards my entire life, just subconsciously. So that is some of the things that I want to incorporate, and specifically within physical environment, it's clutter. Furniture. We've been in our home for 3 years and we don't have like a bedroom set. So I want to work on that. And then overall home management. So it's just some things that really stood out. And these are a lot. So while I did highlight a lot, I don't think, and I'm not going to set myself up for failure by taking on too much. I hope, or that's the goal. Because, just creating some sort of home management system for me, that's very daunting and it's overwhelming. There's a lot of pieces to that, and that can take a whole year. So maybe that's just enough. Maybe that's all I do. Obviously, that's an example. Maybe that's all you do, right? So it's some things to consider when you're thinking about like what sort of level of commitment and work it's really going to take, and try to be as realistic as possible with that. Okay. So I completed my assessment scoring and my map. Now, some of these stickies I have placed here because goal setting is a very personal activity, and I have obviously very personal things. And I could have gone even more personal, but I knew I was going to be sharing this, so I didn't want to, just put all of my deepest thoughts and secrets and desires on paper. Maybe I will afterwards, I don't know. But so I'm just covering a little bit for privacy. But we'll get to this page in just a moment. Over here, this is where I really started to put in a lot more of the work. So the first few pages, of course, is all about reading what's resonating with you, and this is where you start getting that pen to paper and your intentions. So some prompt questions here that I found were really helpful. What could I use more of in my life this year? What could I use less of? So for me, it's going to be consistent routines in many different areas, just to feel overall organized. That is something that I actually started working on at the end of 2021, quarter 4. So maybe at the beginning of quarter 4, like October time frame. So but I still want to hone them in a little bit more. What are some of the habits that you want to develop this year? So 3 things I came up with: consistent tidying and organization, proactive long-term planning. That's something that I struggle with more on that big picture planning. I'm really good at the day-to-day, like more of the details, but big picture, that visualization, it's a little bit of a struggle for me, so I want to work on that. And then better financial management and control. What are some of the things that I want to do more of? What do I want to do less of? What I'm going to give myself grace for? I think one of the big ones for me is just when I mess up and I don't stick to the plan, it doesn't matter as long as I'm moving, no matter how small it is, as long as you're moving towards your goals in the right direction, that's what's important. I'm going to let go of perfectionism. There were things in this process that weren't perfect, or they weren't up to my standards. So I let it go. There were a few times I had to use whiteout. And then what is the word of the year for me? So after I've done all of this, I had a whole list of words that I actually incorporated in another section of my goals here, and I'll show you in just a moment. But I landed on routine, because I think routine for me are going to be the foundation of everything. So more on that as I continue to goal set. This space right here is a blank page. This is one where I got stuck. And I actually skipped this section, so don't make that mistake. Don't make that mistake. So I came back to it and I'm like, okay, I really need to do this. And I wish I had done this before I had moved on. But even if you make that mistake, right, we're going to embrace imperfection. We're going to let go of that perfectionism. It's okay. I got back to it and it was really eye-opening. So here you can use this space to create a list or a mind map of ideas, dreams, and goals. So you can put pictures, doodles, write it out however you like. I did some sort of, brainstorming, mind mapping here, and I used the color coding stickers for each of the goals. And I shot out what are some of the things that I think about, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean that these are going to be my goals. These are just ideas that I had around these concepts. And I can always go back and add these ideas, more ideas here as well. And some of these might land on my goals for this upcoming year. Some of these things, I just want to know that in the back of my mind, they're here, so that when the following year I start to do this process all over again and I reflect on what I want to accomplish, I can revisit this. So that's the beauty of this process. So really love how this page turned out. And again, I'll come back and just add more things as needed. But some of these, again, ended up being goals. Some of these not so much, but I want to recall this. So then we come into the annual goals. Once we have identified what exactly is it that we want to focus on, we determine what our goals are. So what I did is there's a few different goals, and maybe that was a little bit overly ambitious on my part, but that's okay. This is, it's a process, so I will learn from this process. So I decided on maybe 1 to 3 goals in each category. And what I did was I picked out, so if we go back to this page, the one with all of the different prompts, I picked out one thing, or maybe 2, of these words or things that I wanted to consider as part of my goals. So for example, the major theme here is routines. So what is my goal around routines? Some of these goals, as you read through them, are not as specific as I would like. Again, you can come back to it. This is not like, okay, I wrote my goals and I can't change anything, or I can't tweak anything. I'll come back and I'll add more specifics to it, but this is just to get started. So that's the main theme for this one, for personal. For fun and recreation, a big theme is going to be vacations. Like I mentioned, I'm a homebody. and I struggle with the big picture, so I don't plan ahead as much as I should in terms of fun. I plan ahead other things, like I'll plan ahead our budgeting, I'll plan ahead our all of our responsibilities, appointments and things like that, but I will not plan fun, and that is something that I want to focus on. The other area here for work and learning, there's two themes, because work and learning, I have two things included here. I have my personal work, my 9 to 5, and then I also have this community, and I want to give more and provide more value and think of ways that I can do that. So if you have any suggestions, feel free to drop them down below, because I would be more than happy to accept all of those. And then I also have learning how to play the piano. That is something that I started at the beginning of 2021, fell off the wagon, and then I want to get back on. This is a great example of like really thinking through, well, why do you want this specific goal? Why do I want to learn how to play the piano? Why did it fall off? And I think I lost my purpose. One, it's something that I've always wanted to learn. But two, why is it important for me right now? Well, especially since given our current environment, and I spend so much time on my phone and work and all of these things, I wanted to have an outlet and something that would really bring me peace, which is something that I'm really craving for this year. And nothing gets me like not focused on everything else other than playing the piano. I think it's a great escape for me outside of social media, outside of everything else. It's just a great escape, and I had to remind myself of that, why that was so important for me. So for family and relationships, it's quality time. For health and wellness, it's just going to be overall habits, personal development for spiritual and personal growth, spending for financial, and then physical environment for, home management for a physical environment. Under each of these goals, I use one of the stickers where like a stretch goal, if it was a stretch goal. So for me, one stretch goal around health and wellness, I'm going to be starting an 8-week boot camp at my gym, and that is something that I've never done. And while I have been really consistent about going to the gym 5 days a week, that I think that's going to be a little bit more pressure, so I put that as a stretch goal. And then I also have to pay down some debt as a stretch goal as well. And I added just a few more things. So for example, like for vacations, I'm planning on attending Go Wild for 2022. So as I think of other things, what are some of those tangible outcomes from these goals that I want to accomplish? I'm going to add them here. So for example, home management, I will feel really good when I feel like my home is comfortable enough for us, as well as I can host a party, for example, which we've never done in this home. So that would, I should have probably put a stretch goal there as well. So those are the annual goals. The other thing that I'll talk about these is that at the end of each goal section, there is a question. How will my life improve by reaching these work and learning goals? By reaching these family and relationship goals? So here is just a very simple sentence or statement. And what I did is I used this space to put it as an affirmation. So for example, once I accomplish my routine goals, how will my life improve? And I used it in the affirmation method, which is saying it in the present tense as if it's already happening, whether it is or not, right? And the answer to that was, I am organized, I'm proactive, and I'm in control. For example, for fun and recreation, I am relaxed, more balanced, and have a fun life. So you can do that as well if that's something that you prefer. I love affirmations. I think they're so powerful, and I didn't realize how powerful they were until this year, actually. And I think they work so well. Okay, so now that we've gone over the annual goals, let's go ahead and take a look at the next few pages, which is all around the vision board. So this is a great opportunity to start putting down your goals in a more visual way. So what I did is I went online and based on my goals, I grabbed a few pictures. Now this does not encompass every single thing, but of course, again, the whole theme here is you can always come back and add more things or change things up as you need to. And I grabbed those pictures and I added them to these pages, as well as the additional words. So when I was doing the word of the year exercise to narrow down to get to consistency, I had other words as well that I thought I didn't want them to go to waste because I thought that they were really good, but they weren't the one word that I wanted to focus on. So what I did is that I just kind of added them throughout. I sprinkled them here. So for example, grace, cozy and calm aesthetic, being organized and tidy, being committed, being decisive. All of those things are things that I want to exemplify for the year. So this is a great section to really get creative, especially if you're a doodler or you love that visual. I think there is so much power in that vision and that visual for you throughout the year that definitely spend some time doing this. So this is one of those pages that is going to take you a little bit more time. So you want to make sure that you devote your time to that. And then here you have just some goal setting quick tips. And then we go into the first month. So for me, it's going to be the month of December. Now, in the previous video that I had shared, I wasn't 100% sure on how I was going to use the monthly view. So this is how I've been using it so far, and so far it has been working. I may tweak this in the future, but I like this approach so far. So what I've done is that I've used my dots markers to color code each area or routines. At first I started with routines. So one of the routines that I started with was with my community, my social media content, and that was with YouTube videos. So hopefully you have noticed that I have been uploading videos a little bit more frequently, and I have this system to thank for. So my goal is to upload a video every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and maybe on Sunday. I'm not 100% on that one just yet, depending on that. That's on top of any other one-off content that I may have. Like, let's say I'm doing a review for a video that's due on a specific day. Of course, if it doesn't fall within my schedule, that's fine. Obviously, I have to meet that commitment. So that's in the pinkish, because it's kind of like pinkish red, for work and learning category. So I had already started with that just so I can visualize it. Okay, so every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday I have a video that I have to do. The other thing that I did was I started tracking. So it looks like on Thursdays, and I'm a little bit behind already on my first week, but that's okay. I'm going to do it. So today is actually Friday the 10th when I'm filming this video. And technically yesterday I was supposed to do a mani because I'm doing it every week. So as part of my personal care. So I didn't do that yesterday, but I'll get to it today. And that way I can go back and also see when was the last time I did X, Y, and Z. Right. I'm a little behind on exercise. I've been working out for 5 days this week, so I have to log Wednesday's workout, and then today's workout. I have to log that here as well. And then anything that's once a month, I will go ahead and put here in this column. So one of those things is setting up the budget. This is going to get a little bit more filled up as I go on. These are just things that I wanted to start implementing as part of routines, because my word of the year is routine. So I was trying to figure out what is the way that I can visualize my routines and I can stick to that schedule ongoing. So I'm going to add more things, but of course I'm going to start off slow by building on these habits. And then this page here brings me to what my monthly goals are. I have color coded them as well, and I have left some space here. I might write down some notes, and I'll come back and revisit these goals at the end of the month. So I'll do like a goal recap. That's my goal, to do the goal recap at the end of each month. And you'll see those notes there. I might do them in color coding for each of the goals, depending on what that looks like. But these are my monthly goals. I can obviously put stickers or pictures if I wanted to. And then here I have my first weekly actions page. So these are my weekly actions for the week of that we're currently in, December 6th through the 12th. And then here I'll do my weekly reflections. I don't know exactly how I'm going to go about this one yet, but I still have a couple more days to think about that. And then it jumps right into the next weekly action for the following week, and so on. So I did share in another video, I share how I set these up, because I'm not going to be using the daily inserts for these. I'm really sticking to just the weekly actions and the monthly and annual goals, etc. So that is what my goals section system looks like now that it's a little bit more completed. As I mentioned, I will definitely be going back and adding more things. It is not absolutely set in stone. It is something that is a living and breathing document, and I am excited to see how it evolves throughout the weeks. I hope that walkthrough of my goal setting and process has helped you and provided you with inspiration for your own process. I'd love to hear any other thoughts that you have around this activity and what has been your experience with goal setting. Are you planning on doing this sort of goal setting in the new year? And if so, tell me a little bit about your best practices and approach. I love to hear them, so be sure to drop them down below. Thank you so much for watching this video and for your continued support. As always, friends, I will see you in the next video.